Jeez, you already know what it is. Myself, Omega Axel, aka Unefa, back once again, putting in the ancestors' work. What's good? Wagwan, what's going down for the live and locked in fam? As always, a big black African heartfelt thank you to each and every single person tuned in live and direct right about now. Listen, as always, the story of my life, I've been massively busy. So recently I've been slipping and slacking on the making videos and putting out the content. So my apologies. However, I am back once again with the thing. Okay. This is the launch of a new little mini series called the Black Bios. Okay, we're gonna launch with some light work with some people that you should all know. Today we're gonna cover Imhotep. Before we get it in, as always, we have to hail up the ancestors. So I hope that no matter where you are right now, you feel comfortable enough after hearing one of the ancestors' names to hail up and shout out Ashe. So first, we're gonna start with Dr. Yosef Ben Yochanan Ashe, Dr. Asa G. Hilliard Ashe, Malik El Had Shabazz, aka by any means Malcolm X Ashe, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima Ashe, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Ashe, Dr. John Henry Clark Ashe, the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey Ashe, Dr. Chancellor Williams Ashe, Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop Ashe, Carter G. Woodson, Ashe, Joel Augustus Rogers, Ashe, Alfonso Bowman, aka Dr. Sabi, Ashe, the powerhouse sister Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, Ashe, George G. M. James, Ashe, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, Ashe, Ya Asante Wa, Ashe, Robert Nesta Marley, Ashe, the Ahosi Warriors, Ashe, Thomas Sankara, Ashe, Amina, the Warrior Queen of Zazu, Ashe, Tupac Shakur, Ashe, South Africa's Steve Biko, Ashe, Kwame Nkrumah, Ashe, Dottie Bookman, Ashe, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Ashe, Queen Tai, Ashe, Patrice Lumumba, Ashe, and of course, Toussaint L'Ouverture, Ashe. Alright, big up your bad self for being included in that. You know we're rolling with the ancestors. So now let's kick it off with the Black Bios. Big up man like Imhotep. Okay, listen, everybody knows Imhotep's name. Okay, Hollywood has done an extremely good job in whitewashing his legacy. However, it did not begin with Hollywood. The whitewashing actually began much before that. But first, before we talk about that, Imhotep, okay, the sage, doctor, architect, visor, accountant, prime minister, they were just some of his titles, okay? His name actually means he who comes in peace. His name in Medu Neter broken down is the I, which is the reed, the M, which is the owl, the Hotep sign, which is the loaf on a mat, and then it is determined by the two phonetical sounds, which is the T as number 4, which is the loaf of bread, and the P, which is the stool underneath. So Imhotep. You see it there? So his name means he who comes in peace, as we said. Okay. He is the world's first recorded polymath, which means he was a multi-genius. Just taking a quick look at some of the titles that he held. Okay, he was, of course, the visor and chief architect of the Nasut Netriket's step pyramid. So the Nasut Netriket is King Djoser, as most people commonly know him. And throughout his life, as I said, he held many titles. He was first after the king, which means essentially, okay, that he ran the kingdom. Okay, he coordinated the armies, he coordinated local administrators, he coordinated the granaries, the farmers, the builders, etc., etc. He was essentially a human computer. Okay, he was the one who took the master, okay, and decided to pile them on top of each other. Yeah, he conceived that and created basically the next step towards the pyramid. Okay, so it was with his innovation, his daring feat, that they decided to turn this, to turn the master bar into the pyramid. Now, Imhotep's potential as a intellectual was spotted at a very young age. As a young scribe, from common birth, he rose into the position of one of the most influential and one of the most powerful people, not just in Kemetic history, but also in the contemporary known world, but also throughout time, he remains one of the most inspirational and, well, say, influential people. And this was based on his, standard, his natural ability. Now, I'm not the type of person to romanticize African history simply because I know fully well enough that it is glorious enough without adding extra sprinkles on there. Things were never perfect in ancient Kemet, however we want to paint it. However, there are a lot of people who will try to view Kemet through a biblical or a religious lens, which actually obscures the observation of documented facts. Now, ancient Kemet began and maintained a society which was based on ability, which is called meritocracy. Now, later on, after invasions and the loss of traditions, does the grip of power become internally and hereditarily focused. Okay? So, like anything, most things begin out pure and then become tainted. So as we've already discussed, he's already, through his ability, secured himself a right-hand position to the most important person of the known world, the most feared, the most influential king, essentially, at that period in time. But by maneuvering himself as and positioning himself as the high priest of Ptah, he secured the devotion and the commitment of the people for state affairs. And, for his devotion, which was equally matched back to the people, he was the first person to be deified. The only other person to be deified by the people of ancient Kemet was Imhotep, which was, a thousand or so years later. So he became Imhotep, the god or the Unter of wisdom, or medicine, or science and architecture. And 3,000 years or so later, when the Greeks came in, they were exposed to the medical texts, the institutes, and the techniques which were attributed to Imhotep, and they too deified him, but they appropriated him to suit their cultural, ideological, and inferior perspective of African people, and they called him Asclepius, attempting to remove the African trace of Imhotep, which is why a lot of people today believe that Greece is the home or the origin of medicine. Now, Asclepius is actually cited and mentioned and revered in what's known as the Hippocratic Oath, which is a pledge that medical professionals of the Western institutes have to take when joining service with hospitals or actually passing in or receiving their qualification. The Edwin Smith Papyrus is an ancient medical text dated to 1501 BCE, which is sourced and is said to have been cited and created on previous texts which were created by Imhotep. Just so you know, the Edwin Smith Papyrus has nothing to do with Kemet. It is literally just the name of the person who brought the papyrus. But the Edwin Smith Papyrus remains the oldest known surgical treatise on trauma. And the document is essentially a manual for military surgery. It describes 48 cases of injuries, fractures, wounds, dislocations, and traumas. One of the great things that makes ancient African Nile Valley civilizations and their achievements so important is the fact that they're still standing. They're waiting for us to go and visit. They're waiting for us to do the studying. And there needs to be more of us in this field.
Jeez, day 2 out here again with my
soul fam.
And today we're at
Saqqara.
Don't know, because we have to check out the step pyramids, we have to hail up the ancestors' legacy. Big up, hail up, peace and more power, rest in peace, Imhotep.
So there you have it. This isn't spookology, this isn't mythology. You can really go and see these things. Hit me up for more details.